Can you feel it in the air? That sudden shift of mood? It's the perfect time to shed the winter blues and experience the revitalizing qualities of driving a Lincoln. It starts with the Lincoln Spring Sales Event. So step outside and visit your local Lincoln retailer or Lincoln.com for some seriously mood-enhancing offers on current and past Lincoln models. Your transformation awaits. Learn more at Lincoln.com.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
This episode is brought to you by Global X. Since 2008, Global X ETFs has been committed to empowering investors with unexplored, intelligent solutions. Global X specializes in exchange-traded funds that offer exposure to the artificial intelligence ecosystem, including themes like data centers, robotics, semiconductors, and cloud computing. To learn more about Global X's entire suite of ETFs, from covered calls, fixed income, emerging markets, and more, visit globalxetfs.com.
Night on the Diary, Nick and I have a look through the news and Ospreys this week, have a little look back at some Wales shenanigans, and look forward in what we can expect for the rest of the season from Ospreys' point of view. Stay tuned.
This is the Ospreys Diary.
Good evening, everyone. Joined by Nick, as always. How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Feeling a bit happier. Finally felt as if Wales made some progress, but we've got some proper rugby back this weekend, so very much looking forward to the Ospreys game up at Glasgow. Another test of us, but one I'm hoping we can respond to very positively on Saturday evening in Glasgow.
It feels weird to be so optimistic about Welsh rugby. I always like to see myself as one of the less negative people, and I'm finally not alone in that aspect, which feels very strange. Apart from everyone who's still being negative in comment sections on tweets and Facebook posts and whatnot. But
Oh dear.
weird one. Let's jump straight into some news then, and we'll start off with some from last week, which was fairly big, in that we have re-signed Owen Watkins on a long-term deal, which is, I think we can all say, quite good.
Excellent. Very, very, very sort of underrated player. He's not underrated at all by Osprey fans, but in the wider Welsh rugby circles, he's just seen as a steady player. I think he's far more than that. And we're absolutely delighted. We've got the backbone with our other signings now of a strong team which you can build fit other people around. So absolutely delighted for Owen. And, it must be a concern for him. Anybody in that condition, with a bad injury, we're going to put him out, one would think, 6-9 months to have that security of a contract for what one would hope for at least the next 2 years. So, yeah, well done, Owen. Well done, the Ospreys.
I do find it very nice that we've prioritised our signings almost in picking up our Welsh internationals and making sure that the biggest stars on our team are staying to be stars. I think the only person missing from that list nowadays would be Dan Edwards, but we can only hope and wait. I imagine he's on a pretty long-term deal off the academy anyway.
Yeah.
I do want to have a quick mention of the social media team's video for it. Once again, being the best socials team in rugby. Is that a particularly outrageous claim?
No, I think they're very good. Obviously, a lot of thought goes into it, and I'm sure the Ospreys management are very appreciative of the work they do, and I'm sure they'll put some good stuff together now for the rest of the season. Hopefully, well, I think we're going to allude to talk about one of those signings, but as we pick up further signings from maybe further afield, I think we'll make a big thing of that, quite rightly so. stardust that maybe Lance talked about to further strengthen us for our, and of course the big move to St Helens and the history that's associated with that ground and how that can be developed next season.
Well, I think the team have a busy time ahead of them, and that's only a good thing. Let's move on to our next signing then. Also a 13, but maybe a slightly more well-respected name. As the Ospreys have signed Josiah Niasalevu out of a deal of sale. Wasn't getting much game time, but we signed him as injury cover for Owen Watkins until the end of the season. Which, when I saw this happen, I thought this is quite clearly Wales Online having a runabout. And then we announced the video of it, and it's just like, okay, what? A little bit of shock. I think it shows a lot of intent, and it's really quite an exciting signing.
Oh, very. We're talking about one of a world star. Uh, I don't know what's happened at Sale. It obviously hasn't quite worked out for both parties up there in Manchester. But for me, a really exciting prospect of him coming to us for the remainder of the season. Uh, might be his last opportunity to play at this highest level. It's been an absolute star for Fiji for a number of years. I believe he's maybe going to end up with Owen Williams at Nice. And Nice are struggling, I think, in the second division of the French league and might well be relegated. So he'll be playing at maybe even a lower standard next year. So, yeah, hope he can come and add his experience and is undoubtedly, well, certainly international, if not world-class player. So, yeah, really exciting times ahead for the remainder of the season.
I think it's sort of strange seeing a signing of such a big name, almost. Like, when you try and think of injury cover, it's like, okay, we're going to pick a 13 up out of the Cheetahs or out of the Premiership or just somewhere else, say, the Championship, second Predator, that's not getting many minutes and can use just to the end of the season, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You don't expect a man with a highlights reel longer than pretty much most of the Wales squad at the moment.
No.
Which is, I think, encouraging, and it really, I think, it makes next season even more exciting. Because if we're looking to pick up players like that on even just injury cover, coming in and then taking them next season would be even better, and it shows the ambition we're going for. Even though it's nice to have a bit of cash in Welsh rugby, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the other thing would be, his influence hopefully he can have off the field as well. He's got that experience, so that with our younger centres, he will bring that. He's played at the very highest level in France, and obviously in international rugby. So that's something that they can learn from, and I'm sure he's looking forward to a night out in Nice with Keith as probably the highlight for him before he jets off to Nice and south of France and the Côte d'Azur.
Who can blame him? On to the next piece of news. The Ospreys under-18s have won the regional under-18s championship after beating Cardiff at the Arms Park 28-25 this weekend just gone, which may seem pretty expected if they weren't, I think it was 19-5 down at half-time or something like that, which is, I think we're going to say is, what a result. Good win for the 18. It's nice to see the regional academies doing well. At this point, where it's all about hoping they can make the step up and how we can, nurture the step up into the professional game, hopefully. That 65 of them for the 20s next year.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully some of those boys will then be give themselves a platform for Wales under-18s, which had quite a good year, I think, last year. So there'll be, obviously with age group rugby, you've got one year group who are sort of like the last year group, and then obviously there's usually a group who are 12 months younger. So hopefully they'll have the opportunity to play for Wales under-18s. and let's see where they go from there. Quite a few family connections actually. I know James Fender's brother, I think, was injured, so he didn't play in the final. But obviously Lewis Lloyd's brother played at hooker, and but yeah, all goes very well, and Scarlets were perhaps seen as favourites, didn't quite get to the final, but we beat we've a testament to all the coaches as well, led by Paul James. Uh, and hopefully some of those boys will go on to play first team rugby for the Ospreys in the future.
Be a good thing if it did, especially if it can carry on to that sort of form. It's nice to see the 18s doing so well, and it's part of this, helps with this revamped optimism in Welsh rugby.
Yeah.
I think there's one more Ospreys-centric piece of news that I could find this week, at least. That's that Dewey Lake has been recalled from injury, has been turned to the Wales squad, as I think he's going in as co-captain.
I don't know about that. Obviously, they've obviously made a decision. You saw pictures of him training, saw pictures of Dewi training last week with the Wales team, and then he's obviously come through that relatively smoothly. They've obviously decided they must be really considering him at least for a bench place up in Murrayfield. Otherwise, you'd have thought they might have sent him back to have some game time for us this weekend. So I think there was an interview yesterday, wasn't there, with T. Rees Thomas, where he said, well, he's a world class player, and therefore Dewi Lake is somebody who immediately gets into the squad.
Yeah.
So they must be thinking very hard about at least giving him a bench place up in Scotland.
I can see him getting on for 20 minutes at Scotland, bumping 3 people immediately, and that basically guaranteeing a spot on a plane to Australia later this year. Which, I mean, it's great to have him back either way. Given he's back and fit and wearing, having 2 warm games of Wales before the rest of the season with the Ospreys is just what we need at the end of the day, especially as our hooker stocks were starting to dip just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's nice to have him back. I think that's it for the news, or the Ospreys news at least. We can talk a little bit of Wales things. Maybe not the main team, because it's been a bit overdone. And I think every podcast that talks about rugby, even tangentially, has had a thing to say about Matt Sherratt. And so I think we might be able to talk about the 20s instead. Because
good.
bloody hell, what a win on Friday night.
Yeah, it was excellent. I went to the game. Shout out to, and I think I'm pronouncing his name right. I was talking to him, it was Dan Jermaine, who was moved, who'd had decent performances in the second row, and went to 6th on Friday night. And really, he's another one who's definitely going to come into our consideration in the future. He's had that one run out. He had 10 minutes, didn't he, in Ulster, in Belfast. But really nice lad, nice, and definitely could, he's in that sort of hybrid mode that we seem to produce, so the Ratty, Will Griff sort of mode, can play 6, can play second row. But I think he's probably better suited to a big 6. But we'll see what the future holds for him. But he's definitely got the potential and the attitude.
He looks pretty awesome going around. I think defensively, the whole Welsh team packed up, and
they were fantastic.
Probably the best defensive 20s performance I've seen in a couple of years, if not ever. Keeping quite a well stacked and well funded Irish team to 2 tries. The conditions were pretty vital, but highlights in front of you.
Oh, there's certainly some talent in Wales, as we've always known. It's just now how they are, opportunities they're given. I do think I'm not one of these who thinks that nothing's been happening either behind the scenes. I think those pathways are improving. Obviously, I'm sure there's further work that can be done, but I think just the way they've approached the 20s this season, the way they've put in some sort of practice matches, the way they've had sessions with the main team. I think there's far more thought and has gone into, and I can assume that's part of a strategic plan, and hopefully we'll see the benefits of that, because things like that don't happen overnight. They're not necessarily going to work their way into the national team for 2, 3 years, but maybe as the Ospreys and other regional teams will see the benefits first. But I do think things are improving in that regard around pathways.
It certainly feels like there's more sense of optimism around,
Mm.
which is rare, but I think it only helps have these kids come into better environments where they can feel better, and
Yeah,
most importantly, be in winning environments at a young age means that winning when they're seniors becomes almost second nature. It's what happened
yeah,
in 2019 with national squad. So I think what George North has quoted that they forgot how to lose,
yeah,
which if you can get that instilled in at a young age, works for Leinster and Ireland. Why
yeah,
can't it work here?
yeah, indeed.
So reflecting on that win, like obviously Wales did eventually lose to a senior Ireland side that evening or Saturday afternoon, 27-18, which was a fun game. I don't think there's much more we can say other
Yeah,
than, did you enjoy watching it?
yeah, I did. I actually went to that game as well. I wasn't planning to go to the game, but I decided to stay over. Yeah, it's the first game I've been to for Wales for some time, actually being there, which felt like a proper atmosphere. And I think as the three after Jack had scored, I think people started thinking, "Hang on, we're actually going to be in this game." I don't think anybody deep down probably thought we were going to win, despite me almost scoring in the corner. You always felt, oh, Ireland will just sneak this because, as you say, they're just used to winning. Uh, but I think anybody in Wales, if you'd have said to them, "We're going to lose by that type of margin," we'd have snapped the hand off. And also to play with a little bit of excitement and bravery. Yeah, it worked. It went very well.
Good watch it. I can imagine the atmosphere was unlike nothing in the last half
No,
decade,
no,
which is
no,
just what you want to see for Welsh rugby.
definitely.
Let's move back to the Ospreys then, because this weekend up ahead we have Glasgow away, which feels not necessarily must win, but it's important on a player front, isn't it?
Yeah, I think URC produced a league looking at this year compared to last year after 11 rounds. And obviously, we're down on last year. Um, and I think a lot of that is down to the Zebra away results. You could argue that we should have got something more from the first game of the season. I think we all agree we should have done, but we never do very well at Rodney Parade. I can't explain why, but God knows why. But it is what happens. So we certainly have to get something out of this game on Saturday night in what is a very, very difficult place to go. I know Glasgow will have a lot of players away in the international setup. They would probably get some back, but they've got their Argentinians as well who add a lot of quality. They just very rarely lose at home at
Yeah.
Scotstoun. I think it's almost 2 years since they've lost a league match there. They're very well coached, possibly by the future Welsh coach, we'll see. But they're a very well drilled team. We've actually had some very good games with them over the last 4 or 5 years. Uh, we've
Mm.
had one, I think it was one sort of bad loss, but we've beaten them once quite well as well. But other than that, they've always been fairly close games, and I think it will be a close game on Saturday night. How do you think it might? What do you expect? What are your expectations?
I expect it to be quite close, given that we're getting three internationals back,
Yeah, that's
getting
good.
Danny Eds, we're getting Sam Parry, and we're getting Ben Warren.
Yeah,
Having those three coming back in, hopefully Sam Parry not coming down with flu day off this time,
yeah,
but having those three come back in would make a real nice difference. I think having Dan Edwards especially back in playing rugby would be just great for us because at the end of the day, there's a reason he was called up to Wales, this Wales squad, and he's been shit hot this season.
Yeah.
I think he might just have say the courage in him and have a want to prove something to Matt Sherratt and the likes of the Wales squad, saying, "Pick me, please. I deserve
Yeah.
it." Because at the end of the day, is there anything he can do that Jared can do better?
That was the one bit that I thought possibly we needed in that Wales needed a little bit more control at 10 for the last 20 minutes once Anscombe went off. And well, I think Dan Edwards could have done anything Jared Evans did in that match and offered more control with his kicking
Yeah.
game. So I do hope and for a young player, I think having that experience of playing for Wales is great. But he's played 2 away games, and I think he deserves the opportunity somewhere soon and before the end of the Six Nations to have 10, 15 minutes playing at home as well, because that's a very different experience, especially if it's a tight game or well ahead. So I do hope Dan can have a good run out. Hoping the couple of HIAs we had against Leinster will be fine for and be available for selection
Yeah. I
this
think
this
a
weekend.
few of them have cleared up. I think Jack Walsh and Rupert Morgan Williams are back training. I think
Brilliant.
Keelan Giles is also out and about,
Good.
which is good to hear because it means
Yeah.
I think having Rupert at 9 and Dan at 10 is
Yeah.
arguably first choice and one of the best 9-10 partnerships in the league.
Yeah.
Realistically.
And as I guess these lads now Gatland's gone, is an opportunity for them to put themselves back in the shop window. I think we could all argue, no disrespect to Rodri Williams, but I'm not convinced he's currently a better 9 than Rubin. So it's a chance for Rubin to show that really he should be second choice to Thomas Williams, and come the summer, he goes to Japan.
At the moment, just slightly tangentially, at the moment, the 9, well, when Gatland picked Roger Williams, it reminded me of when Pivac was in charge and just picking up any 9 in Wales that could throw a ball.
Mm.
I remember it's like a squad with Dane Blacker, Kieran Hardy, and Lloyd Williams in it. It's like, okay, there may be 3 of the most random 9s I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Apart from Lloyd Williams' last, I think, game before that being in the 2015 World Cup or something,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Yeah.
I found at least. Back on track then. I think. How do you think? Let's have a very quick and vague score prediction for Glasgow away.
Uh, I think we'll win by I'd say 2-3 points. I'm assuming we'll have everybody available in the forwards. So it'll be interesting sort of what sort of selection we make in the second row. Obviously, Will Spencer was on the bench against Leinster. I think maybe his experience might be useful to start, and then do you pair him with Fender, or do you pair him with Ratty, or do you go maybe with Ratty at 6 and bring Deeves off the bench? That we're in a fortunate position. Hopefully, everybody's available. I'm not quite sure where Rhys Davis is on. Obviously, he played.
I think he's just had surgery, according to Sinster at least,
Right. Okay.
which probably means he's out for the rest of the season, unfortunately.
The surgery after that one run out against Cardiff, which is a shame for him. But it's a position where we still have some
Yeah.
strength. So Vincent, see who Mark believes are the best people to challenge, because obviously Glasgow tend to score quite a few tries off driving balls. So defence is going to have to be very strong up there, and so its discipline's going to need to be tight, that we don't give them easy get-ins to our 22 5-meter line outs and score, so on. So those are the key bits. Hopefully our scrum will improve a little bit. Gavin Phillips had a little bit of a lesson.
To
against
be
Leinster
fair,
against Army, but hopefully he'll have learned from that.
yeah.
And Glasgow won't provide the same quality, I wouldn't have thought, at tight head that Leinster could.
To be fair, Glasgow Scrum was getting pushed over by the Dragons 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is only fuel for encouragement.
absolutely. Yeah. So those are the bits of the game, and I think if we can get the basics right, we don't, and our discipline's good. I see absolutely no reason why we can't get a result up there. But as I say, it's a key game for us because I do think we've got to try and pick up 5 wins and a couple of bonus points to put ourselves with a chance again in the top 8 before the end of the season.
Do you think we'll say a nice league is going to come straight in?
I suppose you can only judge how he's got in training this week. Can't doubt his quality. Maybe he might be better off the bench because he can cover 12 and 13.
I think you can
Coming
cover
on with
wing as well,
yeah,
to be fair.
exactly. So that's talking about an impact. That's I think maybe that he might and I think perhaps he'll start in the home game against Connacht. The
Yeah.
club will probably want to sell that game that way. So I can see the logic for that because obviously Boschop's been good. He didn't have a bad game at all against Leinster. He's got played a few times now with Keith with Keenan Williams. So I think props would be more off the bench, but certainly I would if he's gone well in training and he knows the moves by now.
Yeah.
I'd certainly put him on the bench.
Give him a go, at least nothing else.
Yeah,
Like, having a star like that might just be the difference at the end of the day.
yeah. I wouldn't be upset if he's
Yeah.
starting because obviously Mark would have would have confidence with him. What would you make any changes from the 15 or the 23 that started against Leinster?
I mean, I think immediately you bring Dan Edwards back in at 10. I think it just makes sense. And I think Sam Parry would hopefully want to start.
Yeah,
Ethan Lewis did a great job against
yeah,
Leinster, all things up, considering the position he was in. I mean, that was great.
yeah,
Darts great around the park, but Sam Parry is just a step above at this point. Ethan
yeah,
Lewis might be thereabouts, and he's certainly a good backup to have off the bench at this point. I'm not complaining at all. Him
no,
going on for 20 minutes at the end would be great. Other than that, I could maybe see Owen Williams at 12 if he's fit.
maybe, maybe.
It worked really well out in Pau at the end of the day,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think that's something that we might try and bring back
mm,
just a bit, but it'll be interesting to see. I think those are the only 3 changes that could happen.
yeah,
I think the back row against Leinster was just imperious. Tifferick, Morris, and Deves were just on form. I don't think you can drop Deves based on his last performance either.
no,
Like he was
no,
utterly immense. And I'll ram that point home. And as a result, I think it's something we have to sort of, I think, give them another go at this point. They're physically up for it against a big Leinster side. Let them be
yeah,
physically up for it against a big Glasgow side at the end of the day.
yeah,
I do. I don't know if we'll have enough to go out there and win. Just not based on the quality of us. I think we can beat them on their day, on our day, but I don't know. They have the quality to lose it as such. I don't think they're gonna let us get in a position to win it as such. Just with Duncan Weir in really quite good form for them, to be fair. And
No, it's a very they are
backs.
the league position doesn't lie, does it? And and ultimately they are the reigning URC champions. So, but I'm really looking forward to the game. It's a proper test for us where we are, and if it's not a win, at least hopefully come away with something.
At the end of the day, if we're 5 points off Leinster, surely we're there or thereabouts of Glasgow,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
what we'd want to see. I think let's have a quick look at the rest of the season then and what we think we need to do to try and get playoffs. Because we're not in the best place we could be, admittedly. A couple loose results early in the season, but a nice bit of on a little bit of form at the moment. Some very good performances. Only loss under Mark Jones being to Leinster isn't something you can complain at, and it's now who do we need to beat? How do we need to beat them to try and make the playoffs of UFC?
Well, obviously after Saturday, we've got three games against Welsh teams. We've got Dragons at home, Cardiff. I think it is a home game, but it's on Judgment Day. Anyway, so it's on Judgment Day, so obviously that'll be in Cardiff as well. And then we got Scarlets away. So I think we probably need to win those three games because we've got two games at the end of the season in South Africa. Not that we have a bad record in South Africa. I think Sharks will be very difficult in Durban, given how they've improved this year. It was a bit of an anomaly last season why they were so low, given the quality of their squad. But this year they've shown that. So I can see us possibly having to go to South Africa and picking up 5 points, maybe something like that, in the last two games, which is not impossible, but it's obviously very difficult. But it'd be great if we can get to that position where we can go there. So we've got to beat Connacht at home, hopefully with a bonus points. That's if we don't do
Must
that,
win.
we won't go into the top eight. And again, at least something from this Saturday.
Getting a point or two away at Glasgow is better than most teams this season. It'll give
Certainly.
us a leg up on the teams around
Yeah.
us for sure.
Yeah.
And then looking through the rest of the season, every game apart from Sharks away feels winnable.
Yeah.
Scarlets away is probably the other standout of the hardest game there. If you agree, it's like Scarlets away feels winnable.
It feels winnable. I think part of the issue with that one is going to be, do we send a very strongest team because we've got the cup game the following week?
I mean, it'd be the game that all the Welsh internationals are back for.
Yeah.
So I think, although there's not many of them that we're missing at this point, it's pretty much just Gar, Tom, and Dewey Lake.
Yeah.
It'd be still nice to have them come back in and add even more oomph.
Yeah.
To front. I'm also getting Jack Morn, who wants it, quite frankly.
Yeah. So, but and no, let's say I think all we can do at this one, I know it's a cliche, is just take every game one at a time and pick up as many points. And of course, you can't mitigate against is what the other teams do. It's very, very tight and close in that middle group. Cardiff, how many more games are Cardiff going to win? How many more games are Scarlet's going to win? So even though there are a few teams above us, I can see them possibly not finishing the season strongly, and all of a sudden we might not need the sort of points total we got last year. You might get into the top eight with 46 points, as opposed to the 50 points, which has normally been what you need to be a top eight team, 50 or more. So it is very tight in that middle group.
Between 14th and 6th, which is Ulster and Cardiff, there's a 7-point difference.
Yeah.
Whichever day is one game.
Exactly.
We're only 4 points behind the Scarlets in 8th as well, which is feels quite surmountable. It's just beat the Scarlets and we're ahead of them effectively.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, considering we're in 13th, it's a really good position to be in.
Yeah, it shows the quality of the league as well, doesn't it? You'd only say that, unfortunately, there's only one team which have been poor this season. That's the Dragons. Zebra have had a fantastic season. So, yeah, it's very, very tight. There are a couple of teams which are a lot better than the others, certainly when they've got their better teams out. I can't see anybody catching Glasgow Bulls or Leinster at the top. But after that, it's very, very doable.
It feels like significant aspirations, and to get playoffs twice, 2 seasons in a row would be momentous for us and Welsh rugby in general.
Indeed.
I think
Indeed.
Should be the aim at this point. Let's finish up then. Let's have Let's have a silly thing that's going to happen in the Glasgow game.
Justin Tipuric is going to take his scrum cap off to show he still has the best hair in the Ospreys, despite our recent signing.
I think that's a strong claim because I've never. Tipper only takes his scrum cap off for two reasons: when he gets subbed off and when the game ends. Other than that, it remains on. So I'm not 100% sure on that.
That's going to happen, no?
I think my silly thing is that Duncan Weir is going to hit both posts off kicks. They may not go in, but on two different kicks, he's going to hit the left post and then he's going to hit the right post. And I can just see it. I think it'd be quite funny.
Excellent.
I think other than that, let's see it out. Thank you all for listening to Nick and I tonight. Appreciate it. It's a short one. Currently, we are looking for future people to join the pod. We're looking for someone based in Swansea to have a look more of a community game and what Ospreys as a club means to the community around it. And despite us all being quite dedicated fans, none of us really have that same level of connection, unfortunately, which is something that I think would be nice to hear from and nice to talk to on a more regular basis. Other than that, please make sure, if you don't want to join us, please make sure you like and subscribe on whatever platform you're on, as it means a lot to us as a pod and everyone involved in rap in general. I think and realistically, it's free. Why not? Other than that, I think it's time to say goodnight. Thank you, Nick, for joining me, as always. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And hopefully I'll be able to chat to you all next week. Good night.
That was the Ospreys Diary. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.